What's up, guys? It's Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of Powerlifting for the People podcast. We've got my man Dave here today. How you feeling?
Pretty good.
So we appreciate you coming down. So Dave's he's been on part of our distance programs for quite some time. Just coming off fresh off of 2,000 total, and I know you're looking for more. That was your first USPA meet, right?
Yeah.
So I know you've done some other meets in the past, and we're kind of looking to kind of get back. It was a good tune-up, and we're excited to have you. So working on some form and technique today. For people that are watching, maybe are unfamiliar with you and they don't know who you are, can you just give us a little brief background of who you are and what you got going on right now?
I'm pretty much grew up in Jersey for a lot of my life. Moved out to Pennsylvania. Started in lifting when I was like 13 years old. You know, I got beat up a lot when I was younger, so I just wanted to get bigger. You know what I mean?
Got like picked on all.
And then I couldn't decide between bodybuilding and powerlifting. And then when I hit about 18, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go powerlifting. You know, so lived out in by Philly. Just a nice gym out there. It was like a nice little powerlifting gym I go to. So.
What? So initially you wanted to get a little bit bigger, maybe just to improve.
I was thinking
confidence.
bodybuilding at first because
Yeah.
you know you open these magazines, see huge guys. And you're young, you want to emulate that.
Sure.
But then I really liked lifting heavy, so I was like, oh, I'll be a strong bodybuilder. But then I found a powerlifting meet, competed when I was young, and then I was like, oh, I like this a lot more.
Was there ever like a moment, or is there like someone that maybe a mentor or someone that guided you when you were younger? That like, how did you end up like going to watching your first contest? Like, how did you find out about powerlifting initially?
I just Googled it. I mean, I think I read something about it in a magazine. I'm not 100% sure. And then I was just Googling meets and took me to an RPS meet, and I was like, all right. I had no idea how to squat or bench or anything proper. I used to deadlift with straight legs and lift with my back.
It's kind of like a stiff leg deadlift.
Yeah. I think my very first meet was 100% raw. It was a deadlift only meet, so that was my first thing really into it.
And what made you decide that you wanted to compete and do your first contest?
I was up there, and then all the people, and you know, I think my first meet I was like 180 pounds, and I deadlifted 636. So like I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh, I can get stronger and stronger. And then I saw, you know, Benedict Magnuson, and I was like, oh, I want to be the third powerlifter to do over 1,000 pounds.
So watching some of these greats like kind of inspired you, and you felt like you wanted to do that as well. Follow the
Andy
footsteps
Bolton, Benedict Magnuson, those are the primary two. They were just huge, and I'm like, I don't know if I could ever weigh what they weigh, but sure. I'd love to be the lightest person to ever deadlift 1,000.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, I think you're best in a contest 875 deadlift, right?
Yeah.
Deadlift 800 numerous times in competition. Was deadlift always like your strongest lift, or did that come
I got like the long legs and the long arms.
Kind of more built for it, you think?
I think I'm more built for it. Bench I got bad shoulders, so bench is, you know, very
still improving
finicky.
though. Like your 463 last meet was great, so you kind of, and especially like for those watching, you know, I don't know, you might remember better than me. I don't really recall you going past maybe 445 in training. Was the heaviest?
That was 440.
440. So that's a really good result, and I think most of the training was probably like 425 and less. So
it was like 405 and less. So it was a lot more volume.
Yeah. So I think that's a great, you know, kind of lesson. I think sometimes, you know, just making sure you're working on. You did a lot of technical improvements on the bench. You held yourself to a higher standard, and you had a really great like result at the meet. So obviously. You know, everyone's gonna have their strengths and weaknesses, but I think it's a good.
Well, it kind of sucks. Lesson. Kind of sucks because I did a meet over at Skiba's, you know, Skiba's gym in Carteret. I did a meet there. It was a power, you know,
push pull.
Push pull.
Yeah.
And I did 525. So I used to be up there, but then I tore something in my shoulder. I didn't get it really looked at, but I tore something right here.
So just coming back from the injury.
I had to take like 2.5 months off, and then when I came back, I lost 100 pounds on my bench.
Sure.
So I'm trying to climb back up there steadily.
Yeah, and I think if you do suffer some sort of injury like that, I think it is important just to like don't get so romantic with what you did in the past, but try to just make improvements moving forward, because what's past is in the past. You really can't do anything about it, especially going back from an injury. So you've been.
I figure if you've done it before, you can do it again.
Yeah, I think that's a good mindset. And I think just focusing on the next 5 pounds is important. And obviously, you know, for people watching, like doing something like a USPA meet, or people that compete in the USAPL, the standard's a little bit different. Some of the other federations.
I thought it was weird. I'm used to RPS and IPA, where you just kind of go in there with what you have on and do it, and they're like, all right, do you have the underwear you're going to use?
Yeah, there's for those people watching that aren't familiar with some of the federations, so like in the USPA and the USAPL, there's a lot more strict enforcement with the equipment regulations.
They didn't have my power belly wraps that I've been using for like 6 years.
So
they weren't approved, so I had to buy brand new
It
wraps.
is important if you are doing your first meet. This is a great like kind of lesson for everybody, and even like Dave's been competing for a while, but this was his first USPA meet. To check the rules, check the website, see what equipment's allowed, see what the rules are, because there's going to be different commands, and every federation is going to be slight nuances to how the rules are written, how they interpret squat depth. In the case of the USPA, they use a combo rack, so like obviously all your squats can be walked out. So there's going to be some similarities and differences to all the federations. So it's really important that if you're doing a contest and you commit to it, that you understand the rules going in. And I think I even recommend if it is your first meet, go and watch a meet, see how it
That's
kind
why I
of
tell
flows.
everyone, at least go watch
Go
them
watch
so you
a
can see
meet.
how it goes.
Yeah, so you just understand the flow of it. You understand what because obviously in the case of squat depth, for example, the way I like to describe it for people, when the judge is in the chair, it's kind of like an umpire in baseball. Like everyone's strike zone is going to be different. So how someone interprets squat depth, even though the rules are the same, how someone interprets what breaking parallel means to them. Obviously, we want that hip crease below the knee. But obviously, with bigger guys, sometimes squats in gear versus knee wraps versus sleeves versus if someone's really skinny, they can really see their bone. If someone's got really big quads, like a Ray Williams or something.
Everyone has like a deeper crease.
Sure.
Know what I mean?
If you have a really big quad sweep, like we talked about, if you're like a big bodybuilder type, you had a big quad sweep. Sometimes it can be hard to see where the hip crease is, and the judge is asked to watch 2 points at the same time, which can be difficult. So these are all things to consider when you're competing. Do you have any other like words of advice for someone that's getting involved in powerlifting and looking to do their first meet?
Oh,
or maybe advice you'd kind of give your younger
The
self?
gym I go to, there's like a bunch of powerlifters that go in the morning, like 4 a.m., and all of them are brand new. They just did their first meet. And I tell them all the time, like, when you're benching it, I always tell them if you have like your shoulders hurting, you're doing something wrong. Reevaluate what you're doing.
Look at your technique, look at your movement
Yeah,
patterns.
because your shoulders are always hurting or your knees always hurting. It's because you're not doing something right. That's what tells you. Unless it's an acute injury, you're not doing something right. I try to walk through the commands with all squat, bench, deadlift. They got a trainer. I just kind of am there for the technical stuff. I always tell them like if you're brand new, USAPL is probably very good, and RPS is really good for new lifters too because everyone there will work with you if you're brand new. Like they get that.
I
you're
agree.
new.
And I think what I like also about the RPS is it gives you a little bit more options. If you want to go row with wraps, if you want to go row with sleeves, if you want to use the monolift, if you want to walk the squat out, if you want to use powerlifting gear, where some of the other federations are very locked into like it's only walked out or only like USAPL for raw, it's like just with sleeves.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, and obviously with the equipment and things like that.
The thing is, sometimes there's just way too many lifters. You'll be
Sure.
there, you'll be there from 8 a.m. until like 9 p.m.
Yeah, so the pacing of the meet is something to consider as well. One of the reasons we offer some local contests here, a lot of our meets only have maybe sometimes 20, 30, maybe 40 lifters tops, and it's a little bit smaller, it's a little less intimidating, so that's a really good first meet. So we like to do a youth and novice meet in December, we do a deadlift contest in February, and then we do a summer showdown full meet in June. And the reason that we do those meets, like again, it's not like a huge money maker or anything, but we want to get new people involved in the sport. We want to help kind of guide them through the process, help teach them the rules. If they get a red light, we're going to tell them like why they got a red light, help educate them a little bit. Whereas
That's what RPS does. A lot of the judges will tell you why
something
they
with
have
some of
red
the
light.
more strict federations, they kind of don't really care. They're trying to keep the meet moving, and that's fine. It's a little bit more professional. At the highest level, that's fine. It's a sport. But for the people starting out, we obviously want them to have a good experience.
Yeah.
So trying to find a smaller local meet, I think, is a great thing. And I want to also harp on another thing you said about technique and injuries and things like that. So a lot of great physical therapists will say, fix the issue, not the tissue. So sometimes we're trying to, go into cross balls and do all the stuff in rehab, but oftentimes, if we have some aches and pains, it might be a technique thing. So if you can fix your movement pattern, a lot of times you feel better.
Yeah,
overall.
if your movement's off, like if you're benching and you're kind of doing these every time, and you're like, oh, my shoulder
flaring
hurts,
too much, or if you're kind of
or you're not
protracting,
pulling, you're not pulling
not really
back.
engaged in the upper back. So
You can work that
these are
tissue
really
all
good
you
things.
want, do all this medicine ball, this fancy crap that you want to do, and yeah, it might recover faster, but you're just going to hurt it next time you go bench.
So I know you had some kind of pretty bad injuries. I know, especially with the shoulder, you're kind of coming back from that. Your bench has been climbing. When someone's going through like a little tweak or maybe a major injury, what's some advice either from a physical or mental standpoint that you can help, that people can?
Well, I've torn my pec a little bit. I tore something on my side here that took like 2 weeks to heal. I got 3 herniated discs. I got my knees destroyed.
What's some advice you give?
So I always say every time it's like always, like if it's a deadlift and you're coming up and you hear some pops, don't try to be the tough guy and finish out the lift. Drop it, get
better
set
off
up,
just live to fight
I always
another
say
day.
back off. Whatever, when something hurts, because you don't want to have to get surgery done. You know,
Yeah, don't
back
push
off.
it.
You can do it later. Even if it takes you 2 months, you'll get back to where you were. Don't even try it.
So I think it's really important as you get stronger to really listen to your body, and then yeah. So I think it's just really important to do that. You don't need to be a hero, especially like if it's a training lift versus a contest lift. Like weigh the risk reward, weigh the cost and benefit. And honestly, even at a contest, there's always another meet. So obviously, if you're trying for an all-time world record or there's money on the line, you're trying to place at nationals or like a national level event. But most of the time, I think in general, yeah, if you do feel something pop or tear or something like that, sometimes, and if something's really wrong, you know, sometimes you're better off just kind of not being a hero and just having the spotters grab it and then just live to fight another day, like you said. So
one injury can take you out of your career.
Sure, yeah, and you want to, and I think that's going back to what one of the things we always talk about is longevity. So I think one of the things that we've been working on with you, and maybe you could talk about, is the importance of movement preparation and warm up. Can you talk about how you've been feeling since implementing some of that stuff, and what are some things that's been helping you be a little healthier and just kind of move a little bit better?
My biggest thing was mostly, I mean, I started to eat a lot better, doing like standard things right up the diet.
Doing the nutrition,
My
just
diet.
paying attention to getting more protein in.
I've been getting better. Like my diet was always like McDonald's, ramen. Like my diet was
Just getting
disgusting.
calories, but not the seafood diet.
It was more just like I have a craving for chocolate, so let me go buy 3 packs of Reese's.
Yeah.
You know, drink a gallon of whole milk chocolate milk, stuff like that. So I mean, now I'm stretching a little bit, stretching out this, and able to hit depth a little bit better on my squats. Whereas before it was like I felt like I was all crunched up and I still wasn't at depth. You know, just little things.
Your depth's improved a lot.
Yeah.
And your bench arch has improved a lot too since starting. So
Yeah. I mean, I just mostly been listening and just making the little tweaks here and there.
So I think having some people kind of argue like, you know, some general movement preparation. So our kind of general, we have some different articles and more videos on stretching, but in general, you need to have the hips mobile, you need to have the upper back, thoracic spine mobile, ankles mobile.
You gotta learn how to lock your lower back in place.
So talking about, we want trunk stability, we want to make sure we can activate the upper back and the lats, so that upper back lat stability from the lats. Also, we want to make sure we can activate the glutes and work those external rotators, so the hips also need some activation and stability as well.
One thing I will say though, because I see it at my gym all the time with the USAPL lifters, they kind of like do their own little cultish things off to the side. They'll spend the time it takes me to do the workout, they're still warming up.
So you don't want to make the warm up the workout either. So I think there's a
That's
fine line. So in general, I think anywhere from on the low end, something like 5 to 7 minutes, especially we always say you want to have like a sniper approach versus throwing a grenade. Do what you need to do to get onto the bar and hit a competition standard and feel good. But after that, like if you're just throwing grenades and kind of doing random stuff, that's not good. You don't need to be foam rolling for like 45 minutes. Do what you got to do, hit the areas you need to hit, and then kind of go from there. So I think that's a really good general approach. But at the same time, don't rush. Don't just hop onto the bar. Like do some general warm-ups first, get the blood flowing a little bit, increase your core temperature, you know, work on those 3 key areas for mobility: the hips, the ankles, the upper back, and work on some activation or stability work for the trunk, the lats, and the glutes.
I really think it's like genetic, because for me, I really don't have to do a lot. I can just jump right under the bar and start warming up, and you know, not hurry. And maybe there's some people that need to do.
And maybe there's also other times that in your movements you're a little bit more advanced in some lifts. So, and I'm sure there's other times where you need to probably do a little bit more stretching if you're tight or whatever. But we kind of adjust as needed. Yeah. So I think just like adjusting as needed. I think having a good general baseline warm up, and you can kind of always like adjust from there. So I'm not sure if again, I know you're not like too crazy active on social media and stuff, but if people want to follow like what you're doing, we're going to check out more like your lifting and stuff like that.
Pretty much just have it on Instagram. It's at the Power Turtle. I'm not flashy. I don't post all this stuff. I post once.
Maybe some highlights.
I just post my workout. You know, like the main exercise, what I did, and I use it more as like an archive for me. So if you ever ask,
see your progress.
if you ever ask what was the last 5x5 you did, I can scroll back and see what it was that I did.
I think that's some good advice too. Is like don't just worry about.
Worry about yourself.
The PRs do like also look at it for technique, and I think it's good to have like some sort of video training log.
Yeah,
it's great too, and we do like a lot of video review with the online coaching as well, which I think using that technique analysis is great. So, so we got our wrap up. Thanks, buddy. We're gonna get our squat on now. If you guys enjoyed the interview, please give it a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. Please subscribe and share if you liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.